Baby, right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Mega Football Friday edition of Before You Bet, airing live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like and subscribe button right down there. Kind of a big football show today. College football playoff first round gets underway here tonight into tomorrow. We got a couple NFL games tomorrow. We got a bunch of NFL games on Sunday. Of course, it is a Sunday during football season. We're going to be covering all of that. Brad Powers will be along here in a matter of seconds. And then in the third segment of the show, a little National Basketball Association, 3 games on the board, a couple good looking ones tonight, a couple bets there. So me personally, coming off of an awful betting night last night, a little cold here lately. So we're going to try to bust out of the cold streak here this weekend. It wasn't a complete loss. So Jingles on the show yesterday, he'll be with us again today, of course, comes on and gives out, I believe it was a 20-1 anytime touchdown scorer, a gentleman by the name of Michael Burton, a guy who I wasn't really familiar with. I threw $10 on it just for shits and giggles. Burton ends up getting into the end zone. He wasn't just throwing darts either. I'll go over that with Jingles when he gets on the show here. So congrats to him. Great call. Probably the call of the year on the show here. Okay, if you guys want to participate in the show, very easy to do so. You know what to do. Hit up that live chat on YouTube, on X. What do you like in the first round of the college football playoff? What do you like in the NFL? What do you like in the NBA weigh-in? And we will read off a few of the comments throughout the course of the show. All right, let's go to our college football guy. He's not in sunny Las Vegas. He is on the road just outside of Chicago. He's on the way to Indiana, Notre Dame here. Brad, how is the weather there today?
It's really cold, to say the least. We got a little preset, a little snow on the ground here. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Football weather.
Football weather, baby. Yeah. What I'm used to up here in Nova Scotia, Brad from Las Vegas. Getting a little taste of winter up there today. Okay, so let's not waste any time here, Brad. You're on the road. Let's get right into the action. Let's get into the game here tonight. Indiana, Notre Dame. This is inside of 7 points now. I don't totally understand that. I'm seeing Notre Dame here as a 6.5-point favorite, total 51.5. Notre Dame, an absolute wagon. They covered 8 straight games. What do you make of the matchup at this number, 6.5? And I know you have a player prop that you like for this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to 2 factors, and both, I think the opposing offenses have the edge over the opponent's defenses. Number one, I think Indiana's run defense is a little overrated in the fact that they haven't faced a top 50 rushing offense so far this season. And then on the other side, Notre Dame really hasn't faced any legitimate passing attacks outside of USC, and USC kind of exposed them in the regular season finale. Keep in mind, Notre Dame faced a couple of option teams, a couple of backup quarterbacks, so I understood the money on the over a couple days ago. I don't necessarily understand why all the Indiana love today, but you got to respect the market. It has to be a lot of money to move that game off a big number on game day. But again, it's a playoff game. If you're expecting to find a ton of value on a game like this, I just don't see it. So we go derivative. We go. I expect Indiana to at least put as many guys in the box as possible. And so that'll give some opportunities for Notre Dame's receivers, but I don't like Notre Dame's receivers. What I do like is a tight end by the name of Mitchell Evans, All-American last year. He got hurt, tore his ACL, wasn't healthy at the start of the year. We're going to go over his receiving yards, over 34.5.
Looking for a prop on tonight's game. Okay, Brad, let's get into the action here on Saturday. SMU, Penn State, everyone's talking about this easy path that they have. I'm seeing 9s, a couple 8.5s out there in favor of Penn State, who's 15-6 against the spread in their last 21 games as a favorite, by the way. Total 53.5. What do you make of this matchup?
I don't have a bet. I mean, and just to show you that, I'm not alone. I mean, it's been sitting at 8.5, 54 pretty much for the last 2 weeks. I think the key factor will be SMU. Can they run the football? If they can, then I think that they can push Penn State to the limit. If they can't run the football, then Abdul Carter and that Penn State defensive line should eat. So didn't bet Saturday total. Hey, just because it's on TV, just because it's a playoff game doesn't mean you got to bet it.
Okay. The game I'm probably looking forward to most. A lot of people are divided on this one. The guys coming on the show here. I know you really like Texas. Some people have made a case for Clemson here. This spread's up to 12.5 now. Total 50. and a half. Texas, they usually don't play down to the competition. They're, I'm not going to say upset proof, but 22-0 in their last 22 games as a double-digit favorite here. What do you make of this one? What stands out to you?
Well, it did give out when we did that first show on the Monday after the playoff award show. Gave out Texas -11, said it would move, and it's moved with us here a point and a half. I think it'll move even more. To be honest with you, I think it closes 13. What am I seeing? Yeah, I just think Clemson's overrated. They've played 4 top 15 teams, got blown out by Georgia, got blown out at home by Louisville, lost to South Carolina as a favorite, and if that game against SMU goes to overtime, they lose that one. I'm worried about Texas. Quinn Ewers, turnover-worthy plays, 17 of them, as many as anybody in the country. Also, scoring, red zone scoring offense is number 92 in the country, so they're not buttoned up there. But it's more of a fade against Clemson, particularly Clemson's offense. So if you had to bet it now, I know you're a point and a half worse. I still lean Texas's way, but where I'd prefer is Clemson team total. Let's go under 18 and a half.
Okay, interesting. Okay, last but not least, a lot of question marks about Ohio State. The vibes are not good over the past couple of weeks. We know why. Seeing this one's down to 7 now. You think Tennessee can give them a game?
I have my doubts. Tennessee's got some big-time disparities as far as how they do against non-conference weak opposition like UTEP, Chattanooga, Kent State. Offense averages 62 points per game in those. Against SEC play, 25 points per game. And it wasn't that tough of an SEC slate. And, oh, yeah, by the way, this is the best defense they've seen so far this season. If there's one trustworthy commodity in this matchup, it's the Ohio State defense. So let's take advantage of it. Let's go best bet, Tennessee team total, under 19 and a half. Got the stamp of approval from my driving mates here, Todd Furman and Payne. They love it. I love it. That'll be my favorite bet on the board right now.
I thought you were in a parked car there originally, Brad. I could see you're on the move. So you can confirm that you are not driving while doing this live stream, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the back of the car. We are moving on the I think we're close to the turnpike now, the Indiana Turnpike. But yeah, I'm not driving doing this. Sorry.
All right.
It's all about safety.
All right, decent reception you're getting there on your drive. Okay, Brad, we will leave it at that. Do not bet and drive, but have an absolute blast at the game tonight. Best of luck with those bets here over the course of the weekend. And per usual, we will catch you again on Monday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yes, sir. All right, the man right there, putting in his time. Whether he's home in Las Vegas or on the road outside of Chicago there. Good for Brad. Okay, let's talk a little National Football League. And if we're talking National Football League, we got to talk with the guy who's giving a 20-1 anytime touchdown scores. Is he there? Can we bring him up?
Hey,
there we go. Jingles is in the holiday spirit.
Oh.
Good for you. And yeah, I want to give you a lot of credit because you came out here, you submitted this pick before the show, Michael Burton. And I see it come in, and I'm like, who in the fuck is Michael Burton?
Who's Michael Burton?
And listen, I'm going to give you credit because you gave a great breakdown of why to bet. And obviously, a lot of it had to do with the gigantic number. But sometimes people give out these anytime touchdown scores or first time or a guy to score 2 touchdowns, and they're just throwing darts. But you gave an excellent breakdown. So that might be the bet of the year here in 2024. I know we've hit some good parlays and stuff. Metler hit a really good one a couple Mondays ago. We hit that home run parlay in the summer, or that Major League Baseball. Yeah, that was like 34-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
But those are kind of throwing darts sometimes, right? But this, you absolutely nailed it. So congratulations to you.
I appreciate that. And it was pretty good to see him get some usage early in the game, right? Like a lot of things went to it. I mean, obviously, the running back situation in Denver had something to do with it. I didn't think they'd give such usage to the other guy that they brought up. I didn't even get his name, but in that spot, and everything sets up too. It's like whatever. I think it was 1st and goal on the 1. You're like, this is it. Like this is the spot where offensive coordinators get a little creative, little I formation, little play action, and then the fullback sneaks out. And the linebacker just picked up his guy enough. It was a really cool one to watch. And I was literally had it on while I was showering because that's how much of a degen I am and trying to fit everything in. So I'm sitting there dripping wet, and I'm still trying to tweet about it. as maybe too much information as that is, but like sometimes that's when the bets hit, when you're just doing random stuff. So yeah, I'll remember that one.
I was kind of half paying attention. And then, you kind of hear it. You're like, Michael Burden, blah, blah, blah. He gets into the end zone. I'm like, wait a minute. That's that mother effer that Jingles gave out.
But I was trying to search him on Twitter, right? Like just put a quick name search in Twitter because there wasn't a lot of information. I'm like, is he still on the roster? Like, are they still carrying a fullback? And the only things that were coming up on the Twitter search were Batman 1 because of Michael Keaton and Tim Burton. So it was just a bunch of pictures of those two. He had nothing. So good to him. I'm sure he's enjoying his touchdown.
Shout out to Michael Burton, but I'm a big fan of that Matlock guy on the Chargers. Did you see this big dude? It looks like an offensive lineman that threw in the ball. He made a nice little juke move. I think it ended up being like an 8-yard reception or something. I don't know if they went to him again the rest of the night, but hey,
let's be honest.
That guy.
Let's be honest. I called the Chargers frauds. You called the Broncos frauds. Neither of those teams deserve to kind of win that game. Like that first half was awful from a Chargers standpoint, and Denver didn't have a run game to win out. It's just neither of those teams really wanted to win that game.
Yeah, both teams are good, but when they get matched up with the big boys here come playoffs, it's going to be one and done for both of them. Both pretty inconsistent. I think the future is really bright, though, for the Chargers. Wait till they get another big-time receiver and keep building out that team. This is year one under Harbaugh. Okay, let's get into the action here. We got a lot of it. 10 total bets here for the NFL, a mix of totals, teasers, and an avalanche of props. I'm going to get us started here on Saturday. Steelers, Ravens getting after it. I love the under 45 in this one. So a trend and then some stats to back it up here. So these teams have gone under in 8 straight games against each other. All 8 of these games have gone under this number of 45 points. They played earlier in the season a couple weeks ago, combined for just 34 points in that one. Let's get into the stats. The Ravens defense was a major issue to start the season. I'm here to tell you, they have turned a corner. Over their last 3 games, they're number 1 in the NFL in yards per play allowed. They are elite on third down. And both of these teams are extreme clock suckers. What do I mean by that? Well, they are 3rd and 4th in rushing play percentage. That means that clock is going to be moving, baby. And guess what? The strength of each of these defenses is against the run. So they might be running right into a wall, 1st and 5th in yards allowed per rush. Absolutely love the under 45 points there. Steelers, Ravens, Jingles. You love this game. I know this is going to be on the first screen for you. The big Jags Raiders game. It's going to be one of the worst games of the season. Let's get into it. You have 2 props. Give us your first one here, Brian Thomas.
I somehow have a lot invested in this game, and I kind of like it because it's ugly, and it's Mac Jones versus Aiden O'Connell, and I think there could actually be some passing in this game. And Brian Thomas, his volume with Mac Jones has been incredible. So we're going to take him over 5.5 receptions plus money. This market's going to go down. It just kind of came out today. 10 of 14 targets last week, 31% target share, 47% air yard share in his last 3 games. He's tied for 3rd in targets with 36 and 1st in air yards with 408 over his last 3 games. That's versus the league. And the big thing here is we know what kind of quarterback Mac Jones is. He's not a great one. So what have they been doing to get Brian Thomas the ball? Heavy screen usage. His first 3 passes last week were in the screen game. He got 5 screen passes. So if they can't get him going, they have an out. So I just love when you can find guys who are heavily involved in the screen game because those are free targets. Those are free recs.
Okay, next up, teaser of the week. I will be pairing the Lions and the Bengals. Lions down to -0.5 point. Bengals tucked inside of 3 points there, -2.5. And I say this with sarcasm. What could possibly go wrong here? Everything on paper, all the narratives and stuff easily point to these 2 teams. These bets don't always work out. There are upsets every week in the NFL. But I think it looks like an excellent spot. Let's break down the Lions leg first. So they are the bounce-back kings here, ladies and gentlemen. I like them at 6.5, too, if you're just looking for a straight spread bet. They're 9-0 against the spread in games after their last 9 losses. Does it surprise you to hear a team coached by Dan Campbell is fantastic at bouncing back after a loss? It should not. They're also fantastic on the road, 5-1 ATS this season. In their last 21 road games, 17-4 against the spread here, ladies and gentlemen. These offenses are miles apart right now. The Bears' defense is really falling off. The Bears look like a team they cannot wait for this season to get done and over with. No one on that coaching staff will probably have a job a couple weeks after the season ends. Lions, a lot to play for here, too. They are still the number 1 seed in the NFC. No letdown spot for them here. And the game here for the Bengals and the Browns, not a whole lot of stats or anything for this one, but I think it's a pretty big indication that the Cleveland Browns might be throwing the towel in. Why? They're starting DTR, one of the worst quarterbacks on an NFL roster right now, over Jameis, who I know is, he throws a lot of interceptions and he's all over the place. But I think that might be a sign that they're kind of tanking here a little bit. This is a team that has a lot of holes to fill. They probably need to start over at the quarterback position. Maybe they got their eye on a Cam Ward or something like that. They do want to have a high draft pick. You check out Joe Burrow playing at an MVP level. The Bengals aren't totally out of it. They're not officially eliminated from the playoffs. You have a coaching staff that could be coaching for their jobs there in Cincinnati as well. So I like them to win by at least 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by double digits. That's a 6-point teaser. Okay, prop number 2 for the big Raiders-Jags game. Amir Abdullah.
Need to put more money into this game somehow. But Amir Abdullah over 13.5 receiving yards. Market's going up. There's some 15.5. But I think this is good. The projection here is just over 19 yards from the blitz. I would have left Desmond Ridder because he was a check down master. I mean, Abdullah went for 7 catches and 58 yards last week. He's not going to get that with AOC because AOC is a guy who can actually get his balls to his wide receivers. But this is a spot where it's a pretty low number for a guy who can't run, so he won't be the early down back. That's probably going to be Madison, who also can't run. So there's going to be a lot of long third downs for this Raiders offense on Sunday at the 4:25 slot. And this is it. This is kind of like the Williams spot where he'll probably have a 2.5 point reception total, and 13.5 is a pretty small number for a team that's probably going to be a neutral game script. I mean, I don't know, Jacksonville going to blow them out, maybe Vegas. I don't know. I'd lean Jacksonville, obviously, on this side, but obviously the big situation here is Sincere McCormick is out. So it's just there's not a lot of people here, and it's a bad offense, and bad offenses don't go down the field much. So let's go to the backs and Amir Abdullah over 13.5, which should close around 15, maybe 17.5.
Okay, next up, when the NFL schedule first came out, I think this might have looked like an attractive game to some. Maybe not so much anymore. Of course, I'm talking about the 49ers in Miami to play my team. I'm embarrassed to say that. I think this total is too low. I don't know where they're getting 44.5 at. So I love the over in this game. Check out the 4 home games since Tua's return. Miami has dropped an average of 31.75 points, 5 straight overs in Dolphins home games, by the way. On the other side of the ball, the Dolphins defense routinely gets cooked by competent offenses. And the 49ers absolutely still competent on offense. There's still a lot of talent on that side of the ball. You know, Brock Purdy, he's looking for a big-time contract, so a lot for him to play for. Obviously, we saw the Bills, Cards, Packers all light up the Dolphins defense here this season. Outside of that, for the most part, it's been a cupcake schedule for Miami. What about the 49ers defense? Some real issues. One of the worst in the league on both third down and in the red zone. Their last 2 games on the road, they got absolutely destroyed by the Packers and the Bills. So I think there's a path to scoring here for both teams. And I think this one goes over 44.5 points. Jingles, Jalen McMillan, Sunday Night Football, taking on the Cowboys. What do you like for him?
Sunday Night Football, indoors, and I need a piece of this Bucs offense that just put up 500 yards last week. Really scary Tampa Bay team, I think. They held, Justin Herbert to 0 converted third downs in week 15. But here we are, McMillan. Dallas has to choose who they want to stop. This Tampa Bay run game is very good. Okay, let's stop that. Well, Mike Evans just put up a monster number last week, and he's been on fire, one of the best receivers in football. So they're going to have to choose, and that's going to mean Jalen McMillan won't have as many eyes on him in any situation as he should, because his role is increasing down the stretch, as it tends to do with rookies over the last 2 weeks. 3 touchdowns. The man is season highs. Last week, set a season high. Then top that again the following week. So this is a person who's getting more trust. We had Cade Otton overs constantly. Well, guess what? His volume's gone down. He's injured. Sterling Shepard's injured. Trey Palmer's injured. So there could be an extra 10 targets to go around Sunday night. And a good thing that I like about this, I mean, we've seen Tampa Bay blow teams out, but out of nowhere, Dallas has been pretty competitive, winning 3 of their last 4. Cooper Rush actually passing the ball. So the longer this game is in neutral game script, the better. But over 36.5, the Blitz projecting about 45 here for the rookie. Could be a big game for him because Dallas really can't choose what to defend. And I think McMillan slips through. And he has the longest A dot of all, so it could be done in 2 catches.
Okay, next up for me, it's my favorite prop bet of the weekend. I might have a few more. JTFOZ on X. You can find me there. If I do have some, I will drop them there. But my favorite is Joe Burrow for his longest completion to be over 37.5 yards. This has been light work for Joe Burrow against this number. It has hit in 7 straight games overall and 5 straight games at home. He likes to chuck them up. Who can blame him? With the receivers he's thrown to, he's tied for the league lead in pass attempts at 40-plus air yards. And Cleveland is a team that allows a lot of big plays through the air, 27th in yards per attempt allowed, bottom 5 in pass plays of both 20-plus and 40-plus allowed. Chuck him up to Chase, give him a 25-yarder or let him do the rest of the work maybe, or just go deep. A couple go rights to Chase and T. Higgins potentially. I love this one to go over 37.5. And Jingles is our resident Swiftie, but not the Swift that you think. Tell us about your fandom of Swift.
I'm always good for 1 carry prop for the week, and I think it's DeAndre Swift this week at 13.5. I think I'd go as high as maybe 14.5. 15.5 might be pushing it, but this is a guy who since week 2 has had at least 13 carries in every game except 1. He had 19 carries last week with a groin injury going into that week, questionable, and in negative game script. The Thomas Brown play calling as a head coach has certainly helped him. He's gone over in both of those games with TB there as the play caller. But, I mean, if we look back, I'm not putting a revenge here thing at all, but he had 11 carries versus Detroit in the Thanksgiving game, and it was 16-0 at half. There's a spot where maybe he gets more work because we've seen Caleb Williams' body language on the bench. Maybe they want to take a little off his plate. It's going to be cold. There's going to be a little wind. And with the Detroit injuries on defense, I mean, this game could be a little closer than maybe people would expect for a Detroit team coming off a loss. DeAndre Swift is going to be the only guy getting the ball. There's no Roschon Johnson. I mean, he's 85, 90, 95% of the workload in that backfield. So that's a pretty small number, especially when you got guys, number 1 guys who in game script, you're looking at like Chuba Hubbard's always like 15.5.
Tim Powell in the live chat says, man, it's just hard to be a sports fan in Cleveland. You know what, Tim? I think the Browns just make everyone else look worse because the Cleveland Guardians is a team that's consistently been in the mix. I know they haven't won a World Series in forever, but they did have that run. They went there against the Chicago Cubs. And the Cavs, you had the whole LeBron James thing, and the Cavs are pretty good right now. But, yeah, the Browns, as far as, like, disgraceful NFL franchises go, they're a contender for number 1, easily in the bottom 3, especially the Deshaun Watson nonsense. Okay. My last pick for the NFL segment here is a bet that I absolutely love. It is a bet that I've been making pretty much all season on the show. It is the visitor to Dallas taking the over on their team total. In this case, it is an awesome matchup. Going to go for the Bucs to go over their team total of 26.5 points. Check out how this matches up here, guys. The Bucs average the most points per game on the road at 31.6, while the Cowboys allow the most points per game at home at 33.4. 7 of the Cowboys' last 8 opponents in Dallas have topped 26.5. The one that didn't top that number of 26.5 was Drew Lock and the Giants on Thanksgiving. And then you get into some stats, massive edge through the air and in the red zone. The Cowboys 31st in yards per pass attempt allowed. They are dead last in red zone defense. The Bucs, very efficient in the red zone. Also one of the best pass attacks in the league with Mike Evans in the lineup. Give me the Bucs to score 27 or more. And to wrap up the NFL section of the show, a guy who I've been seeing a lot here in these Lions games, getting a lot of TV time for good reasons. Tim Patrick, what do you like for him?
Yeah, now the number 2 betting favorite for comeback player of the year. I mean, it's a Joe Burrow award, but like he's just kind of shot up because he's been so good. He's kind of become the 2A to the 2B to Jameis Winston, or Jameis Williams, in this spot, because he's so trusted in the red zone right now. And that's why I'm getting him for a TD plus 350. Had him at 400 last week, slight price adjustment, but he scored again. I mean, this is as low as plus 225 in some places. It's not the greatest matchup in terms of, I mean, most of the Detroit games this year have been indoors. It's outdoors in Chicago, but I still like this spot. 26% of his targets coming in the red zone. Obviously, the injury to David Montgomery kind of factors into this. Maybe they have to pass more. Maybe they have to get more creative within the red zone. But Tim Patrick, this is a number 2 receiver kind of being priced as like a 3 or 4. I think he should be priced at about plus 220. So just kind of riding it until it gets a number. Like as a bettor, you need to put a number on this, right? We were on Anthony Richardson last week. Had him at plus 175. He should be priced at about plus 135. That's where he fell to this week. So Patrick plus 130, plus 350. I think I play this like plus 250 range. And the other 2 TDs I released earlier today were Patrick for San Francisco. You wanted, you're on the over in that game, no? Like,
indeed.
He's even money for a touchdown. Like no San Francisco starting running back should be even money for a touchdown. So I think that's a good look there. And then Ray Davis, I think in Buffalo could do some closeout role. And we've already seen him be productive in the end zone with 2 touchdowns over his last 4 games in pretty neutral game scripts. But if that looks like a good rest game for Buffalo, not to hurt Josh Allen heading into the playoffs as a 14-point favorite versus New England.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very cold. I was looking at the over of 46.5 for that one, but there's something pulling me back from betting that, so I'll probably sit that one out. I love that over in Miami. I hope the 49ers win 45-0, and it goes over for a couple of reasons, because it would improve the Dolphins' draft position, and also it would increase the likelihood that Mike McDaniel gets fired. I don't know. I think they might be on the fence about doing that. We don't have to get into that now. Maybe Monday when we're doing a little recap, we'll be talking about that. But Jingles, we will leave it at that. You're a busy man here this afternoon. We got a lot of content to get out here. Everyone's taking a couple of days off next week, but we still got to do the work. There's still football to cover, a bunch of other stuff too. So best of luck with all your bets here this weekend, buddy. Enjoy the games, and of course, we'll catch you on Monday's show to cover Packers Saints, a 14-point spread in that one. A couple good-looking betting opportunities. We'll catch you on Monday, buddy.
All right, appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. And what's tonight? Tonight's Go Irish, I think. I think that's where I'm going at the 6.5. I know Brad talked about influential money coming off the 7, but if you're sitting down with the boys having a drink, I think I got to go Irish. I don't know too many people that aren't on the Irish tonight.
Yeah, let's go. All right, buddy. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.
Indeed. Moving right along here. Let's talk NBA. Let's bring in our guy here, Jon Metler. If we're talking NBA, we're talking with Jon Metler. This NBA schedule this week is driving me nuts. I know they took the night off on Wednesday because it was the NBA Cup was the night before. They had, a dozen games last night. I was expecting to come in here and have, 6, 7, 8 games to dig into. There's only 3 games here. And one of them, I guess you would assume Joel Embiid's going to play here because it's an 11-point spread now versus the dinky Charlotte Hornets, who gave that kid a PS5 and took it away and got busted and embarrassed, and they gave it back to him. But one thing I want to discuss here off the top here. So big topic this week in sports media. Everyone's talking about how NBA ratings are down. What is going on? Everyone's taking a big dump on the NBA. And I think it's fair that people are doing that. I think it's because of the load management, the player movement over the year. I think a lot of people are just resent the players. You have a guy like LeBron James, who's, the most popular player. A lot of people don't like him. I think a lot of people like Steph and Giannis, but then you have guys like James Harden, Kevin Durant, you know, a lot of people don't like these guys. There's resentment there, but I want to throw this at you. I got a bit of a conspiracy theory, John.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Why all of a sudden is this a major talking point at this point of the year? It doesn't matter what outlet you are watching, whether it's ESPN, Fox, us here. Every single sports outlet is talking about this story. NBA ratings are down. What is going on? My conspiracy theory is I think that the NBA is planting this stuff and they're pulling some strings behind the scenes so that they can justify some major changes potentially coming in the next year or two. I don't think that it's the three-point shooting, why a lot of people aren't watching. I think a lot of people find higher scoring games to be exciting. I think it is because of the resentment of the players. But the angle of everybody seems to be that there's an issue with three-point shooting. And they're talking about changing the configuration of the court, maybe having a situation where, you know, you can only take 23s per half. I think that's kind of stupid. But I think they're planting the seeds here to make some changes. I think they look at Major League Baseball, whose ratings have gone up since they instituted the pitch clock. And I think they're using this to justify some changes, whether it be around more strict load management type stuff. Maybe they're going to do something with the three-point shooting. What do you think of that? And what do you think of like all these rule changes that people are putting out there for the three-point shooting that everyone apparently has an issue with?
The conspiracy theory is kind of interesting because it is true. It's just like someone brought it up, and then now we just like keep talking about it. And they obviously tried to fix the load management last year, putting in the 65 games for like first team All NBA to win awards, all those things. And it doesn't feel like they're still kind of not getting the product they want. So they need to change something. I don't think it's the 3-point shooting. If anything, you just eliminated long twos, which is like great. Nobody wants to watch that because there's more 3-point shooting, but there's also more dunks and stuff around the rim, more kind of that high flying, what people want to see, more scoring. In terms of like what will happen, I do agree with you. I think they want to get the load management like out of the game. I think the biggest issue, and it's probably not an NBA thing, there's so many ways to consume sports now. It's like even the NBA, like one, I can just stream it without even buying a package to anything. But like you can also go in after a game and you can watch it cut without commercials. You can watch a 10-minute condensed version. You can go on whatever platform you want to watch and watch like a 3-minute highlight thing. So it's not even like I just have to go watch games anymore. You can literally condense it all down and watch things faster. And like the NBA itself is putting out those products to help us do that. If you rewind like 15, 20 years ago, nothing was as accessible to you to watch games. Like when it was like Saturday, primetime, NBA, I had to watch because that was the only game I got all week, unless it was Pistons over the aerial, because that was the team I was the closest to. So now I think just everything's kind of available to you and people aren't like rushing to go watch it. I'm sure when you were a kid, it was like hockey night in Canada. I am watching hockey because this is the only chance I get to watch this team on that night. And like now you can watch all 82 games and you can watch it very easily. So you're not really like setting that time aside to watch those nationally broadcast game. I don't know. That's kind of where I feel like I'm at. I think the NFL was always great because they slammed all the games into like that 1 and 4 o'clock window, and it was just all there for you, and it was over the aerial type thing. They're getting away from that themselves, right? Like, what do we have this week? We have Christmas Day, we have Saturday, we have Sunday. I feel like maybe they should condense like NBA. We play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know. I'm just making up days. You know what I mean? It's like too spread out. If that makes sense. I don't know. There's a lot.
I think some major changes are in store, and this is for the NBA to be able to justify to its owners and its players, like, hey, here's why we have to make these changes, guys. The sport is dying, which it isn't, and there's got to be gray area with how ratings are compiled compared to 15 years ago. Like you talked about their streaming services and stuff, and yeah, it is a lot more accessible. Like I don't watch a lot of college football games from start to finish, because I got a family and I do that with every single NFL game of the week. So I don't have time. So you can go on YouTube and it's so incredible. They have these 8-second or 8-minute recaps that you can watch of all the games. And I'm guessing a lot of people do that with the NBA as well. But the thing that they're never going to do, they're never going to shave 10 games off the schedule. A lot of people that would eliminate the 15 back-to-backs that every team plays. It's not going to happen. Why won't that happen? It's because you'd be leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table here. Like, it is a business at the end of the day, right? So, yeah, I think that the NBA is pulling, like, it's kind of suspicious. This is a big week in sports. Everything's going on in the NFL. You get the college football playoff stuff, yet everybody's talking about the NBA TV ratings being down.
Yeah, like even for you though, like you're on Atlantic time, right? So like Kings Warriors is 11:30 p.m. for you. Like, are you staying up till 2 a.m. to watch that game? Or are you waking up and watching a condensed version of it without commercials and all those things in 30 minutes? I mean, I don't know how I'm assuming those ratings don't count. You're like watching some, but I mean, they're putting out that product. I think what really hurt the NBA too was for the longest time you had LeBron James, Cleveland Cavaliers, Miami Heat, East Coast. So when you did like these 2 nationally broadcast game, you would go LeBron James, East Coast, 7:30 start, Steph Curry, 10 o'clock, West Coast. And those are your 2 biggest names. So like you were drawing both games. Well, now you got Lakers, Warriors, and your 2 biggest names are in the same time zone. So I think that kind of hurt them as well. And they need to find out who that next person is, right? Like, who's that next person that's going to carry those ratings? Because it is LeBron James, Steph Curry, and they need to figure that out.
Yeah, people are a little sick of LeBron. I think he's right there with Michael Jordan as the best, but like the personal branding of a lot of the players, they're obsessed with it, and fans just don't want to hear it. They injected whatever your politics are. A lot of people don't want that with their sports, right? Like, let's call it what it is. Steph Curry is getting a little bit older. I think people don't like Durant for the most part just because he changes teams all the time, and I think it just compiled over years. It started with LeBron going to the Miami Heat, which I didn't have an issue with. It was in free agency. No need to get in that today. But, you have like the James Harden. I'm not happy. I want to move. Kevin Durant. I'm not happy. I want to be traded. So people are probably just sick of it. Brian Zeller just learned about Atlantic time. It is rough, dude. I live here in Nova Scotia on Atlantic time, usually up if I'm watching a primetime football game till 12:30. For the most part, sometimes quarter after 12. And if it is a good game, an electrifying game where my bet goes right down to the wire, it's usually hard to fall asleep right after that. So sometimes waking up here on a Monday, Tuesday, or Friday, a little foggy, feeling pretty good here today. So we talked about it, John. 3 games on the board here tonight in the NBA. The 76ers Hornets one, a little tricky, because I think Joel Embiid is still questionable, but you would suspect that he is going to be playing with Philly as an 11-point favorite. We each have a bet for this Bucks-Cavs game. I will get us started. I do not understand the spread. I'm going to take the NBA Cup champion, Milwaukee Bucks, here at +9. Yes, Dame is out, but I think the spread is absolutely ridiculous. How do you get to 9 points here? What am I missing? You're probably saying, is Giannis playing? He is expected to play. He is probable for this game. Now, Cleveland was favored by 8.5 against the Bucks when these teams met on November 4th. They won that game by 2 points. And oh yeah, I should probably mention Giannis didn't even play in that game for the Bucks. Now you dig into the stats. Pretty close here statistically over the last 10 games. You know, we've been talking about how Milwaukee has turned that corner. 5th versus 9th in net rating over the last 10 games. The Bucks shooting it a little bit better than the Cavs in this span. And lopsided losses are very rare for the Milwaukee Bucks these days. Over their last 17 games, they have one double-digit loss. Somehow came to the Atlanta Hawks, who always play well versus these good teams. But yeah, the Bucks are a good team. Giannis is going to be the best player on the court here tonight. You going to go with the letdown from the NBA Cup? I don't really buy into that. The Cavs might win, but this is too many points. Give me the Bucks here, +9. And you have a prop here on Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I went over Evan Mobley over 2.5 assists. It's sitting about +135 now. So this is another situation where it's like a player where his box scores have kind of got messed up a little bit here recently. So he injured himself, left a game. So he went under there and the minutes were low. Then he came back and it was an absolute blow against the Brooklyn Nets. So once again, the minutes weren't high. So now you're getting this 2.5 big plus money. And when you just look at the matchup with the Bucks, they've played twice this year already. He's averaging 8.5 potential assists in those 2 games. When you're talking about 2.5 plus 135 and someone's averaging 8 potential assists, That's a lot. And it makes sense. Like when you watch the film, it makes sense as to why that would happen. He's someone who brings up the ball. He handles the ball in the perimeter, and he's primarily being guarded by Brook Lopez. Like Brook Lopez isn't picking you up past the 3-point line and putting pressure on you. So it just kind of allows Evan Mobley to like easily run those like dribble handoffs they want to run with some of their shooters. And just from like a minute standpoint, you'd expect him to play because like probably more minutes than he typically would because of the size of the Bucks, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez, you need more rim protection. So that helps his minutes as well. I just really like that his potential assists are going from like away from the Bucks rim protection, it's kicking out to his shooters, which would be the weak point of the Bucks defense, and they're trying to convert them versus like the opposite. Like if you're taking, Donovan Mitchell to Mobley, it's a little bit concerning. You saw how many blocks Giannis had in the NBA Cup there. So the fact that it's the opposite, I really like that. So give me the over 2.5 assists there for Mobley.
Okay, light night in the NBA tonight. It will not be a light week in the NBA, though. Christmas Day games. I like that under in Dallas with the T-Wolves in town. We're going to be all over that. We will be recording a Before You Bet Christmas Day special, NFL and NBA. And, of course, John will be a big part of the NBA section of that. That will be next week, and we're going to be doing a regular show here on Monday. So make sure you guys tune into that. If you missed the top of the show, I believe, do we have a recap graphic? There we go. Look at Chris pulling the strings behind the scenes. Okay, Saturday, couple of games. My favorite bet for those games, I like the under of 45 between the Steelers and Ravens. 6-point teaser. What could possibly go wrong here? Lions down to -0.5 point and Bengals inside the 3 at -2.5. I love the over in Miami with the 49ers in town, over 44.5. Joe Burrow, longest completion is my favorite prop of the weekend, 37.5 yards versus the Browns. And Bucks team total Sunday night football. Let's go over 26.5 in Dallas. Jingles, Brian Thomas, over 5.5 receptions. Amir Abdullah, over 13.5 receiving yards. Jalen McMillan, over 36.5 receiving yards. DeAndre Swift, over 13.5 carries. And Tim Patrick, baby, he's been getting into the end zone a lot. A little quick, Chris, with that switch to the NBA graphic. Plus 350 on Tim Patrick. And then NBA light night tonight. No need to force it if there's not a lot to like. So I'm going to take the Bucks as a big dog, +9. And Metler has Mobley over 2.5 assists. Okay. Let's end it at that. Great show today. Of course, we'll be right back with you on Monday. Brad Powers will be here to recap a little what we saw from the first round college football playoff games. We're going to have a bunch of bowl games to get into with him, maybe some best bets for the second round games. We'll have lines for those as well. We're going to have Monday Night Football. We will have NBA as well, so make sure you tune into that. Thank you to my 3 guests for joining today. Great job by the fellas. Thank you to Chris and Mick behind the scenes producing the show today. The fellas did a great job producing for us. Big shout out goes to our sponsor, BetMGM. Make sure you check them out for all your sports betting needs. And the biggest thanks of all goes out to all the great viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. Guys and gals, we do have a couple female viewers for tuning in to the show. Best of luck with all of your bets tonight. And over the weekend, we will catch you guys again on Monday. Let's go, Bucks! Woo!